my fellow Saiyans and Saiyanettes, and welcome to my review of Episode 1 of Dragon Ball Super, the next chapter in the Dragon Ball saga. I am honored and thrilled to be reviewing this anime series. Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z is what got me into anime. Of course, I'm an American who grew up with Toonami. That's one of the key reasons why I love this series so much. I have to say that without a doubt, this is one of the most nostalgic anime experiences that I have ever had, and it truly is speaking to my inner child. What I will say is, this episode right here was a great reintroduction to the characters of the Dragon Ball universe. It picks up immediately after the end of the Majin Buu arc, and everything is at peace. I especially loved the very beginning of the episode where they give you a quick recap of the defeat of Kid Buu, and I love that they're using the Chala, Head Chala music. It really felt like this is a true continuation of the Dragon Ball storyline. So Goku is no longer fighting aliens or participating in tournaments. No, now he's a farmer. He's riding around on a tractor where he'd rather be training with King Kai. Lucky for him, Goten shows up to deliver some lunch, and this gives him the perfect opportunity to slack off and do some Super Saiyan training, which involves him completely demolishing the landscape, which I'm sure is going to piss off the farmer who he's working for. Otherwise, this also leads to a cool scene where Goten ends up getting enamored by watching his father train. He ends up taking the tractor and actually going off the edge of this cliff, and Goku is able to save him with the power of his badassery and of course his instant transmission. And what I love about this scene is that it just looks really good. Everything looks really good. The animation is really crisp and clean. The character designs of Dragon Ball, while they are simple, just look really good in this universe, and I was kind of afraid that the series wasn't going to look that great, but honestly, I'm liking the new look quite a bit, especially the backgrounds of the series. Everything looks good, the music cues are also fantastic, it's just great all around the board. Right after this, we're introduced to Beerus, the God of Destruction. Or really, I should say, we're being reintroduced to this character. This is a character which existed in the movie Battle of Gods, and this arc right here seems to be recreating or remaking that arc altogether. And I think that's not such a bad idea. This will give us an opportunity to learn a little bit more about the characters in the actual universe of Dragon Ball, because Beerus is just going around destroying planet after planet. That is his job, after all. He's also joined by his attendant Whis, and there's this scene where he goes to this planet which is inhabited by all of these anthropomorphic pig people who are doing everything in their power to make Beerus the best meal that he has ever had of all of these ridiculous alien-looking foods which are multicolored and ridiculous and somewhat gross-looking. There's this one grape that he's squeezing which has all these weird tentacles which explode out of it. And then he drinks this weird martini-esque thing which he claims is too salty, and he doesn't really hate the planet that much, so he decides he's just going to destroy half. But I don't know how that's not going to destroy the planet anyway. Maybe that's just Beerus' sick sense of humor. What's really interesting about this scene, though, is that it's very different from what we see in the manga version. Or maybe we could even say that in the manga, he was at a different planet. But there was a very similar scene where he went there, and the inhabitants of the planet actually tried to poison him. That didn't happen in this episode, and he actually just ended up destroying them anyway. In any case, this is a really great introduction to the character of Lord Beerus, how crazy he is, and how easy it is just to piss him off, and how he can destroy a planet in an instant. I've been vocal about this in the past, but I'm not exactly the biggest fan of young Goten and Trunks, and they're actually really important to this week's episode, but honestly, I really liked their little adventure that they had this week because it really reminded me of the first episodes of Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. The main story is that they're trying to get a gift for Videl, and they want to get her some cosmetics. They go around to all these shops, which is really funny because you get to see everybody reacting to their strange powers when they're flying around. It's amazing that these people are freaked out that they see people flying, considering all of the crazy things that have actually happened to this planet over the course of the last 50 years, but whatever, that's beside the point. What's really great is this leads to this amazing scene where they found this fountain of youth, which is basically just a stream, and they gather it up in a bottle, but then they're suddenly attacked by this giant freaking snake of death, and it totally looks like something Akira Toriyama would design. It looks like something out of the Dragon Quest games, and it displays a lot of personality. And this scene is very similar to when Goku and when Gohan were running away from the saber-toothed tiger, except this time they've upped the ante by turning it into this giant death monster. And the action that's displayed in this scene is actually really nice. The camera sweeps, the way the characters are running around, flying, running on the snake's body, and this amazing scene where Trunks just wails on it as he's punching it as he goes into this forest and then slams it into a tree. The snake then decides to go ahead and get the hell out of Dodge. And I cannot forget Mr. Satan. Mr. Satan has returned for this series, and it's regrettable to note that his original Japanese voice actor did pass away a few years ago, so he does have to have a new voice actor. But honestly, the guy who's doing it, I think, is one of the perfect choices. I don't know his name, but I know he's the guy who does the voice of old Joseph Joestar from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Stardust Crusaders, and it fits so perfectly. Mr. Satan is a character that I really never cared for too much at first. He slowly had to grow on me when I truly realized that he's just a purely comedic character. Maybe they can do something more important with him in Dragon Ball Super. All I know is it's great to have that big afroed bastard back. He's also joined by Majin Buu, and I love that Majin Buu is here. I love the fact that since we have this 10-year gap between GT, if you even want to count that GT happens, I pretend GT doesn't happen. I like the fact that Majin Buu himself is here, Fat Buu. I don't ever want him to fuse with Oob again, because he displays so much ridiculous personality, and this could be an opportunity to actually do something else with this character, because now he's a good guy. He's no longer a villain. We can actually develop Majin Buu quite a bit. What I also love about this episode is they're still keeping a lot of secrecy to a lot of the characters. We don't see too much from Vegeta or Bulma really in this episode. It looks like that's going to be something that's going to be more involved in next week's episode. The episode ends with Goku getting some amazingly good luck when Mr. Satan decides to give him 100 million Zenny, all for thanking him for destroying Kid Buu. He has to do this behind the scenes, of course, but this is really convenient because now Goku can give the money to Chi-Chi and he can immediately go to King Kai's to train, and he is going to need some training because Kabito Kai and the Elder Kais are watching, and they know that Lord Beerus is closing in on Earth as he is destroying planets left and right. So what's the rundown on this week's episode of Dragon Ball Super? I'm so happy that this show is back. You guys have no idea. It doesn't even matter what other anime is on right now. Dragon Ball is back, and it's freaking awesome. Like I said, the animation is crisp, clean, the action scenes are impactful and awesome, the music is infectious and new, and even though these characters have these old designs and everything, they still feel modern. They still feel like they could take place sometime in the future, and that's always been the magic of Dragon Ball's character design. They're timeless, and that's what I really loved about this episode. But really, this one was just all about reintroducing the characters and showing us Lord Beerus and how destructive he really is. It is also worth mentioning that there are amazing openings and endings for this series. First, the opening, which is called Chozetsu Dynamic, or Excellent Dynamic, and the opening is just great. All the characters are there. You get to see a lot of villains. There's a lot of shots of Goku and Vegeta fighting against what looks like Frieza's soldiers. Maybe this is a tease to the resurrection of F-Arc, if they're actually going to do that, if they're going to adapt that into this story as well, which I believe they are. And just looking at the preview for the next episode, all the different things that Beerus is going to be doing, seeing him go to other planets, I think that's a really interesting element and something that I think was really missing from Battle of Gods. This might make that arc a little more important. Are we going to see the return of the Pilaf gang? We're just going to have to wait and see. The ending song, Hello, 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 is also really good, infectious, and honestly made me tear up just a little bit, especially with the silhouette of young Goku transitioning into his adulthood, where you get to see all of the events that he went through in the backgrounds behind him. It's just a really great ending. This whole show just made me feel so nostalgic. And despite the fact that Goku is the main character, he's not actually the main focus of this week's episode. The real stars are Trunks and Goten and this crazy little adventure that they go on, which is honestly a lot of fun, and like I said, is sort of like an up-the-ante callback to the first episodes of Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z. Gohan returns, and predictably, he's still just a bookworm, but I'm sure we're going to see the badass of Gohan come out if the intro is any indication. There's even a short cameo by Piccolo this week, who's continuing to do what he always does, which is to be really stalkerish, but somehow badass all at the same time. Mr. Satan was funny. I love his new voice actor. Totally reminded me of Joseph Joestar. I loved the animation. I loved Lord Beerus. I loved seeing his return. The designs of the pig aliens. this was just a great continuation of Dragon Ball Z. The Z is gone. It's all about the Super this generation, my friends. So let's get excited. The first episode right here was just infectiously fun, and any Dragon Ball fan should definitely check it out. So I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5. I cannot wait to review the rest of this series. This is definitely the one show that, like, I've been the most excited about watching, reviewing, and sharing with you guys. Because Dragon Ball, to me, is anime. It's what's really important to me when I think of anime. And even though there are technically anime out there that have better animation, maybe better storylines, maybe better characters, to me, at the end of the day, Dragon Ball will always be my favorite, and that's why I'm so glad that it's returned, and hopefully it'll be better than anything that we saw from GT, because I still just don't like that show that much. And maybe I'll do a full review of GT, maybe I'll have to rewatch it and see what it does, but for the time being, I'm gonna focus on the brand new Dragon Ball Super. Check it out, Dragon Ball fans! So I absolutely love the first episode of Dragon Ball Super, but what about you guys? Did you watch the very first episode? What did you think of the reintroduction of everyone's favorite heroes? Did you have a favorite character who showed up this week? What do you think of the return of Lord Beerus? And what do you hope to see from the rest of Dragon Ball Super? Please tell me in the comment section below. Thank you guys for watching my review. Make sure to like it, share it with all of your friends, and make sure to subscribe to the channel. That way you can see all of our latest anime and manga reviews and all of our Dragon Ball Z videos. You guys can also follow us on social media. Thank you guys again for watching, and as always, Kamehameha!